have found myself falling into this endless cycle of toxic productivity, to burnout, to this obsession with reinventing myself and getting my life back together. Once I start to feel a little bit better, I slip into the mindset of wanting to be a brand new person. I'm not on short form social media, but I still fall into the trends of the cool girl, the clean girl, minimalist, softcore, wanting my house to look like a magazine, wanting to throw out my stuffed animals, only wear professional clothes and Slack, but then only wear band t-shirts and grunge outfits. I think there's an inherent struggle between neurodivergence and identity, especially as you start to unmask and realize how much of yourself you have covered up and how little of yourself you know. And as I'm working through acceptance and the cycle of my many personality quirks in therapy, I've started to recognize some patterns in myself that are easy to track and also important to call out. One of the things that I worked on with my therapist is the idea of green, yellow, and red zones. These are behaviors, moods, and trackable things in your daily life, patterns that pop up whenever you are approaching a red zone, whatever that looks like. For me, it means like a burnout or a depressive episode or something like that, an overwhelm of some sort. And so I made a list of all of the categories of things that might be relevant to this idea. And I did it with the help of my therapist, so I thought I would provide you with a couple of examples that you might be able to do in your own life to kind of help you. So she had me go through the different categories of job, how I handle my finances, my interests, my impulses, what my music taste is like, what my mind, body, hygiene, what my movement is like, how my body feels, my energy levels, what my environment looks like, and what my food intake looks like. And she had me go through and write down words for each category in my green, yellow, and red zone. So, for example, when I'm in the green, neutral, clear-headed, safe, comfortable, stable, productive, have clarity and connectedness. I am open and helpful and gracious and kind, and my social aspect is up. Whereas when I'm in the yellow, my mind is overwhelmed, closed off, distant, and drained. I feel sensitive, overwhelmed, annoyed, raw, anxious, and tired. And then when I'm in the red, I go nonverbal, I'm exhausted, I'm short-tempered, I'm emotional or quick to anger or cry, annoyed, and frustrated. And so I did that for each category. I really attribute this to the fact that I did not go into a burnout episode.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I was very close to it. I was approaching it very swiftly, and one of the patterns of behavior that I tend to have during these moments is that I really force myself to continue doing whatever it is that I want to be doing. So continuing to film, continuing to game, whatever I want to be doing in that moment, rather than listening to my body and my brain about what I actually need to be doing. So this past weekend, I wanted to film a 24-hour readathon, and I filmed the intro and then immediately felt like I didn't want to. I didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to go through the effort of filming the B-roll and reading the books and all that. So I actually just didn't continue the vlog. I fixed my schedule because I am many weeks ahead on all of my videos. And I allowed myself for the long weekend, because it snowed last week and I was out of work, to play video games with my partner, to read books that I wanted to read at my own pace, to start new TV shows, just do whatever the heck I wanted. And while my productivity in the yellow zone is fully 100% determined by me, because I'm forcing myself to do things that are like my own interests, I still find myself forcing myself to give more, to do more, even when I'm not feeling it. Because it's hard to accept that your productivity isn't at the same level all the time. And that's part of the acceptance journey for me. That being said, I avoided a burnout episode, a burnout cycle, but I swiftly pushed myself into like this desire for productivity, this need to like reinvent myself and become a completely different person. And I think a lot of it is in the hopes that if I reinvent myself, if I become a new person, somehow I'll find this new pattern of behavior that will just completely change my mental well-being, will change my habits, will make it so that I can continue to push myself and not deal with the ramifications of my various diagnoses and disorders. And it's kind of this rat race that I find myself in a lot that never works out, because I am someone who has a lived in home. I'm someone that doesn't always clean up after myself. I'm someone that has a lot of stuffed animals that I find comfort in, and I wear like normal, not styled clothing, and I just don't live well what I see on like social media, and I'm not even on social media, and so I can't imagine what things like TikTok and Instagram and all of that does to your psyche when you're constantly consuming this thing that tries to put you in a box, especially as a neurodivergent person who's been forcing myself to be in a box my whole life and never really understood what that box even was. That the strain of forcing yourself to be someone that you're not. We as humans tend to categorize things. If we can identify it, we feel a lot safer, and we feel like we understand things, knowing that we are constantly striving for. And so when we are forcing ourselves into these boxes, it makes us feel better, but we don't fit into boxes. As my therapist likes to say, we're comparing our insides to other people's outsides, and it's been a constant struggle and cycle and process trying to stop doing that. So that being said, I am currently in the productivity swing, so I'm going to try to lean into it, not necessarily in the like reinventing myself way, but in the getting stuff done, reading, watching TV, like doing all of the things that I held back on while I was allowing myself to rest. So I do think I'm going to play Sims for a little bit. But this week, we're going to get back into our workout routine because I haven't worked out in 2 weeks. And I did work out this morning or when I got off work, but I'm feeling it, you know? So I plan on getting back into a workout routine. I want to read at least 4 books this week, and I really want to focus on that because I have so many library books and so many things that I'm excited for. And I also want to just get through some animes, get through my TV shows and all that stuff. So we're going to be productive, but we're going to do it in our own way, and it's not going to look how you see on TikTok. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Alright, hopefully the sound of my dryer is not too loud, but I wanted to talk about all of this stuff that I'm reading and or watching. I am coming off of one of the worst periods that I've had in a long time. The cramps were so bad this weekend that I could not even stand up straight. So I'm still not feeling my best, and unfortunately I'm not one of those people that can like read when I'm sick or in pain. So I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I was playing a lot of Sims. And I was watching a smidgen of TV. I'm back on my anime bullshit, so I started some new animes. I ended up finishing Chainsaw Man finally. I read the manga beginning of last year, and it was like one of my favorite things that I read last year. And I finally got around to watching the anime and finishing it up, and it's so good. And then I also was starting some other animes, some like romance in particular, because I'm just really feeling romance. Restarted My Love Story at level 99 with Yamada something or other. It's like a video game romance. I'm on episode 2 or 3, and then I also started the quintessential quintuplets. I think he gets with all of the sisters or something. I think there's a romance between him and all of the sisters, and it's about who he ends up with or whatever. But in the first couple episodes, he's just tutoring all of them because he gets employed by their family to save them from failing out of school. I've been watching those. I also started Once Upon a Time, I've mentioned in previous vlogs. But I did end up starting The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This is a romance author that I've been wanting to read for a couple of months now. She has been making her rounds with her books, and so I picked up a couple from the library, and I started with this one. I'm listening to the audiobook on Spotify. You get a certain amount of hours every month. I think it's only 15 to listen to audiobooks. So I don't know how long I have, but I'm 30% of the way through this. And this is basically a second chance romance between a woman who is a sports agent, and she becomes a sports agent for her ex-boyfriend who is an NFL player, and he's returning to the NFL after an injury, and they have to work together, and she broke his heart, and so he's sort of has a revenge plan against her, but they're working together. It's okay so far. I would say Sarah Adams has very typical contemporary rom-com writing that is just really easy to listen to and to get into, so I'm not mad about it, but it's also not tickling my fancy, if you will. And then I'm also reading a romantasy that I'm not really into, so I think I'm gonna try Gideon the Ninth. All I know about this is it's gay necromancers, and they're dead. I know people really, really love this, and I have been wanting to give it a shot, and so I'm going to do so. And then other than that, I'm going to continue to watch my shows and play my Sims games. So that's the update as far as what we're reading and watching and stuff. Miscellaneous. Okay. So I have been playing Sims pretty much since I got home. I immediately got in bed. I'm just like, this period is kicking my ass. But I realized that I was going through my Spotify because I wanted to see how many hours I had left of audiobook listening, and I realized that my audiobook time resets tomorrow. And so I want to read as much of the rule book as I can so that I don't carry that over into the next month. I have more time. So according to the audiobook, I am 43% of the way through. The audiobook is good. I would say this author's writing is good. If you have read, I don't know, like the typical contemporary romances like Lauren Asher and authors like that, I would say you would like this as well, like Tessa Bailey, where it's a lot of like fun and banter with a slight amount of like character depth to it. I would say you would enjoy this author as well, but her writing isn't like anything mind-blowing, revolutionary, crazy. Not that I need that from every single book, but it's, you know, worth noting. Married in Vegas, drunken night situation, they're still working together. They've resolved the issues that they had from their previous breakup, but now they're trying to like obviously deal with the fallout of them getting married. I'm gonna try to read as much of this as I can or listen to this while I play The Sims. I started a new family because I was just getting very overwhelmed with the current family. The family that I was playing, it was like a generations situation, and the mom and the dad died. So the grandparents died from old age. The mom and the dad died from a vicious rabbit attack. And so that left the three sisters, and one of the sisters got bit by a werewolf exploring some underground tunnels in Moonwood Mill. And so she's now doing her werewolf packy things. And then the other two sisters are falling in love, having kids and stuff. So she's also, the werewolf sister is also pregnant. I moved them into Moonwood Mill because the werewolf sister needed to like get ingratiated in the packs and all that. Like I didn't want her to be a lone wolf, so we moved the family there. And I built individual houses on one property for the three sisters and their partners and their babies and stuff. And now one of the sisters, I think, wants to become a witch. And so I need to like figure out, I know there's a way in Realm of Magic. I want all three sisters to be paranormal in some way. I want one to be a vampire, one to be a witch, and then obviously I still have the werewolf one. So I am progressing their stories as I go. Two of them are married to women. They had science babies, and then one was married to, or had got impregnated by a werewolf pack leader. The werewolf sister got impregnated by a werewolf pack leader's son, and she's like trying to work her way up in the pack. And he moved in very briefly, and then I realized that my Sim household was at max, and I wanted one of the other couples, just like one of the other couples, to have a child. So we kicked the man out of the house. He went back to wherever the hell he was from, and now we are like a little group of women raising our children together, which I really like. So, but I was getting very overwhelmed because, yeah, having 8 Sims to manage is just too much. Like, obviously, there's a level of autonomy in Sims that you can turn on or off. I always keep it on. But, like, the Sims 4 Sims are not like Sims 2 Sims, where they're, like, really smart and you can literally, like, leave them to their own devices and they'll do whatever you want. There's a lot of, like, routing issues in the game where the Sim will, like, you'll tell them to like go shower and something will like fuck up and it'll glitch and like cancel it. And especially with children, it's very frustrating because then the child just gets more and more angry. So it's like they're just not very smart, you know. So I started a new family. I started out with a mom who had an infant. She moved to San Sequoia and she like wants to grow her family. She wants to fall in love, and I've been really exploring a lot of avenues of the game that I don't generally do. I'm very much someone that likes to sit at the house and just like watch my Sims, but I've been trying to explore like other avenues, like go out to clubs and meet people, and like take my children to the park, because like I'm paying for these expansion packs and I'm not using them. So she's in San Sequoia, we've been visiting the rec center or the library, she's been going to bars with friends and stuff, so I'm really enjoying the current family that I'm building with, and eventually I'll probably go back to my Generations family, but I want to explore the growing together pack, and it's hard to do that when you have so many Sims. So like the one mom, one daughter situation is really good, but that is a Sims update that you probably didn't care to listen to. So I'm gonna start up my audiobook and probably try to get as far through this as I can, and then play some Sims. It is now Friday, and I constantly find myself in this struggle with myself, in this cycle of wanting to be productive and be normal, do the things that I love doing, reading, playing video games, all of the things, and just functioning how I feel like I should function. And I have this barrier up where this protector part of me wants to just force me to grin and bear it, and that's definitely my militaristic upbringing. But a lot of it is like going back to the identity thing. If I can just find the one thing, or if I can just get over it, I'll never have to deal with the anxiety or the depression or the overwhelm, the burnout. I'll never have to deal with that again. And I'm autistic. That's just never gonna be the case. I'm never gonna be someone that never deals with overwhelm again. It's just not gonna happen. And I'm like seeing that front and center this week. I've been really struggling the past couple of days because a lot of very stressful, big stuff is happening at work this week that's out of my control, and that's not good stuff. In addition to that, like I said, this period has been truly awful, painful, just like I don't want to do anything. I talked about it with my therapist, and I cried about it with my therapist. We continually talk about not really knowing how anybody is living, how anybody is functioning. Base your entire life and your entire identity and behavior on other people and other people's opinions and what you need to say and do to be normal, to fit in, for people not to notice that you're different. It's ingrained in
in us. It's learned behavior to determine whether what we're doing is good or bad based on what we see other people doing. As an autistic person, I really need rigidity and structure and control, and I need to feel like everything is in its place, and that's like my biggest protector part, trying to make sure that I feel safe and comfortable. And I really struggle when I have an idea of what my day or my week is going to look like and it doesn't turn out that way. This week, for example, I wanted to film this vlog where I'm getting my life back together and I'm doing all of my hobbies and I'm getting back into a workout routine and I'm doing all of those really helpful things that I want to be doing, things that I know I should be doing to a certain extent. But my body and my brain are just incapable of doing them at the moment. And when we discuss the yellow, red, and green zone, I always feel like I am at the edge of a yellow zone. I always feel like I'm very sensitive to overwhelm. And my overwhelm is never like this big grand thing. Like, I think a lot of times the way that autism is portrayed in the media is these like freakouts, these tantrums, they're screaming in the store, they're doing all of these things that make it very obvious that the way that they're interacting with the world is not settling and safe for them. And I don't have that. And so I think for those of us that feel it internally and don't have those external expressions, it's a lot easier for us to just push stuff down and ignore it and pretend like it's not there and suffer in silence. And sometimes most of the time, suffering in silence is the worst thing you can do for yourself. Mental health in general, depression, anxiety, all of that is such a personal experience. Like, no one experiences autism, ADHD, depression, all of that. Nobody experiences it the same way. No person experiences it the same way. And that itself can be very isolating. And then when you feel like you just have to get over it, when you just have to deal with it, it's even more isolating, because it's like, well, I should be able to deal with this, and it's ridiculous that I can't, and other people can deal with it and other people can get through it, why can't I? And it's also this feeling of like a nebulous it, where I can identify it later on what in the moment set me off, but there's always going to be something else. And I've been working through a lot in therapy, and less stuff sets me off the way that it used to. And I guess that's cool. That's one of the benefits of therapy, and one of the biggest changes that I've seen. Because I have a lot of tools now that help with situations like that. But that's not to say that I don't get overwhelmed and that I won't in the future. It's a hard pill to swallow, I think. In addition to all the other pills that I'm taking. So what sent me over the edge was a couple of days ago, I think it was Wednesday, I tried to film a video and I wasn't liking the way that the video was turning out. And then Oswald, my youngest cat, got himself caught in the wires of my computer and pulled my entire computer off my desk, and everything was deleted. The video, the game capture, the house that I was building in Sims in the video, everything got deleted, and it sent me into like a complete fit. And I realized, like, this is not the day. Today is not the day for you to be doing this. Come back to this at a later time and figure it out later. Because I felt like I was back in the green zone. I was away from the yellow zone. I was back to myself and feeling good and all of those things on the green zone column that I recognize. But I was this close to the edge of yellow, and rather than push myself past my breaking point, I decided to give myself a break. And that in and of itself sucks, because having to have a break from the things that are a break from your life is so fucked. Like the the fact that I can't just enjoy my hobbies like a normal person. When I say normal, I'm not actually saying, like, it's saying something bad about you. This is just the way that my brain functions. So when I say normal, I don't mean like if you don't function like this, then you're not normal. And there is no normal. I just want to be so clear with that. Like, there's no normal. No one functions on a normal way. There is a way that is dictated to us, a pattern of behavior that we are supposed to exhibit to be normal, but nobody fits in that exactly. And so when I say normal, I just mean this is the things that my brain tells me when when I'm beating myself up. So just so that's very clear, because I never want anybody to feel like they're not normal, or I'm telling them they're not normal, or that there's something wrong with them because they see like things in me or similar behaviors with themselves. Because like, obviously I'm not degrading you if you see yourself in me. Like, that's why I'm talking about this, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just is something that you have to deal with. It's just something that has been given to you, and that sucks, and it's hard. All of that is to say that I really wanted this week to go a certain way. I wanted this vlog to be a certain thing, and there's so much pressure that I put on myself for everything that I do. I want my week to be exactly what I want it to be. I want my videos to be exactly what I have in mind. I want everything exactly in its place, and I feel so much pressure when it's not. And there's no pressure from anybody else. Like, who gives a fuck if this vlog that I said was a productive vlog is not a productive vlog? It's like, who gives a fuck? It's a video. But I feel so much pressure because of the way that my brain is literally wired for there to be structure and to be a rigid schedule and for things to be right and in order. And when it's not, it creates this like level of anxiety that is just, it feels like something is sitting on my chest and I can't like get a full breath. And it sucks. It sucks. And I know that as I go on, that I will find tools for each of these things, and I'm getting better every day, but that's where I'm at. I don't have any like good things to say to end this, but that's just, if anything has been reinforced this week from the first clip to this clip, it's that the red, yellow, green zone is different for everybody. And it's very important, and it's a very useful tool for you to check in with yourself and figure out your patterns of behavior and figure out the patterns of your emotions, because it can be so helpful. It can be so helpful, and giving name and voice to things that you previously felt so misunderstood about, or felt so like you felt like you didn't understand it. It really, really helps. So that being said, I need to get to work and deal with this bullshit, but I need to have my breakfast first and get ready. So